Hello, my name is NichollMcGuire, and thank you so much for stopping by my page. And today we're going to talk about when mothers cry because, well, a lot of moms out there are crying, and they're crying about a number of issues. Some of those issues I discuss in my book, When Mothers Cry. If you haven't gotten this book yet, well, you're missing out on some things, especially if you don't have peace of mind about being a mother. Especially if you are a young person who just found out she's pregnant, you might want to get this book. Especially if you are a mother who thought that your last baby was the last one, and then you got another one on the way, and there's a significant age difference between the baby that you had last and the one that you now have. Lots of issues out there. And if we don't address them, if we don't expose some foolishness for what it is, then guess what? We perpetuate a cycle, okay, where we end up putting all of our drama on children that didn't ask to be here, didn't want to be here, okay? I'm sure somewhere, through this whole cycle of life, somebody said, look, I don't want to be here, but okay, I guess I got to be here because my creator wants me to be here. But either way, though, the point is that there are some serious problems going on, okay, with mothers and the people who they have had babies with, as well as the people who they have divorced or are still in relationships with. All of this stuff affects motherhood. Money affects motherhood. Bad relationship affects motherhood. Children who are not doing what they're supposed to affect motherhood. Children that are not with a mom affect motherhood. It goes on and on. Now, I talk about these issues because, well, I noticed that a lot of things have come into play since I wrote this book. A lot of things that now I have another book that's coming out that is pretty much the same. Okay, dealing with motherhood issues. I tell you that when you write a book like this, God convicts you on a lot of things. He causes you to take an even deeper look at your relationship with yourself, with your children, with those around you. He moves on you to talk about your experiences, even though you want to just put them off and not go back down that path again. And so that's what I have done in this book. I didn't get into all of the specifics because, well, the book was already long, okay? And hopefully those mothers will make the time out to read this book from cover to cover because there is some information that will definitely open up your eyes to some things about parenting that you may not have thought about, especially when it comes to our society and how they tend to tell us how we're supposed to act, how we're supposed to feel when it comes to being a mother. Sometimes mothers expect you to act a certain way, and they will even go so far as to say, well, oh, I would never. Oh, how could you? Or what would make a mother do? And then you fill in the blank. But all of that self-righteous, judgmental attitude toward our sisters because we didn't do this or that they did, all that does is set us up for future tests. You see, sometimes we don't appreciate what we have until it's gone. Sometimes, though, we appreciate ourselves far more than we ever could have had we stayed with certain people. Because you see, just like there's children of light, there's children of darkness. And children of darkness, they tend to do very well when it comes to manipulative schemes, when it comes to being conniving. And they have an interesting way of using children to spread false information, to act a certain way. They have a way of suppressing or controlling a child in such a way where they can't move right and they can't move left. Don't you say that or else. Don't you do that or else. Don't you mess this up for me. You know, that type of attitude. And what's interesting is that these individuals think that God doesn't see. They think that they're not going to reap what they have sown. You see, as mothers, we've got to be mindful of the things that we do and the things that have been done to us as well, so that we don't fall into traps again. Because the enemy would love to take a mother, especially one who talks about the Lord, who prays to the Lord, who studies and shows thyself approved unto the Lord. He would love to take a woman like that and break her down emotionally and or physically. That is why we must do what Ephesians 6 says. Put on the full armor of God, because you're just not putting it on for yourself, but you also got to put it on for your children as well. See, we're very quick to go after our goals and our dreams that we don't consider what we're doing with our children. We drop them off here. We trust this person to watch our children. We believe that our children are in the best care, and then we find out days, weeks, months, years later that our children have seen things that they shouldn't have seen, that they've been exposed to some foolishness, that they are being taught immoral things, that there are some secrets that they've had to hold on to for a number of years as a result of relatives, friends, and others telling them to shh, be quiet. Meanwhile, mother works. Meanwhile, she cooks, she cleans, and she has no time to sit down and really delve deep with her child. Ask the real questions, the hard questions, the uncomfortable questions. What did daddy say? What did mommy say? What did mommy do? What did daddy do? How has mommy been behaving? How has daddy been behaving? What's going on at school? And who is this friend that you've been spending so much time with? And where were you exactly when I called you? And then, of course, doing the investigation, going behind the scenes and seeing exactly what your child is up to and what is the parent up to. And no, we're not doing all of this investigating and, going through the trials that we go through and all of that in vain. Oh no, we do these things because God wants us to be in the know. He wants truth to come across our doorstep. He wants us to walk in the light. He doesn't want us walking in darkness. It's the devil who wants to keep us in the dark. It's the devil that tells us not to ruffle anyone's feathers, not to ask any questions, just go along to get along, not to kick open any doors and snatch up our children if we have to. See, the devil, he wants us just to be that weak Christian, the one that, oh, let's just love each other. Let's just go to church and let's not say anything that's going to disrupt the atmosphere. Let us just always kumbaya. Now you know that God that's in the Bible is not one that's sitting around there doing that sort of thing. When it's time to battle, it's time to battle. When it's time to call a truce, it's time to call a truce. So, when mothers cry has a lot of battles in it. Some of them are my own. Some of them are battles that I've witnessed looking at other mothers over the course of my life. Is there a happy ending to our motherhood woes? There is if you seek it, if you're determined to find it. For some of us, we can find that happiness with our children. Some of us can find that happiness without our children. And we're still mothers, irregardless. I want some of you all to get this book. I've repeatedly told people across Twitter, back when I was on Facebook and other places, get this book. It isn't about money. It's about sanity. It's about keeping some of you from doing something crazy. Because I know some mothers contemplate crazy. Sometimes crazy shows up in whispers and says, do this and do that. I'm trying to keep some of you all out of some serious trouble. You don't need to tell a lie on an application. You don't need to go and hurt somebody when you know you got police. You don't need to make a grand announcement at the next family event when you know you can contact a lawyer. You don't need to contact his women, his exes, or anyone else when you know you got the one true God and he can do all the contacting. You don't have to tell everybody at the workplace what the father of your children is really about, because they can see for themselves. Some of you all are scheming and you call yourselves Christians. God doesn't want us to do that. Get when mothers cry. And I hope that you're able to find the solutions that you need so that you don't have to keep crying those sad tears, but that you can start crying those happy tears. I'm reading from chapter 25, Societal Ills, out of When Mothers Cry. No matter how many strangers wish you a happy Mother's Day, the reality is that society is becoming more and more hardened when it comes to compassion, understanding, and love for mothers. We see evidence of this negative society's attitude toward mothers when children kill them, husbands abuse them, thieves rob them, and dangerous men rape them. Society may praise you for single-handedly raising your children to your face, but behind your back, they are wondering if taxpayers are helping you raise your children, especially when you have 2 or more. They prejudge you, don't you? Even in your own family. Ooh, I wonder if she's on welfare. I wonder if her man is taking care of her. I wonder how many baby fathers she got. I wonder where is the father? Reading on. They may tell you to your face how they respect and admire you as a great mother, but behind your back they are talking about the clothes your child is wearing, what you look like, and wondering where is the father. Society does a lot of smiling in mothers' faces, but also does a lot of talking behind their backs. And the biggest criticisms are usually started not by men or women without children, but other mothers. Other mothers putting all this foolishness out here, talking about women that they do not know, bad mouthing and going along with this man and that man and this woman and that woman's experience, not having any direct experience, going along with this person's opinion and that person's opinion of what motherhood really means and what it is. Because, well, this one had a great experience, and so therefore we're all supposed to, mimic her. But meanwhile, the finances aren't allowing it. Meanwhile, your community you live in is not that type of community. You see, we don't look at all aspects before we start talking about how great a mother she is and how wonderful this one and that one is. We don't look at the fact that some people have all sorts of help to raise their children, while others don't. But some mothers, they just know everything. Right? Reading on. If we act like we want to have a baby without a man, return to work after giving birth 5 days later, or choose to let the children live with the father, someone is yelling, what the? Why would any mother who does this, who does she think she is? They want us to act traditional in some ways, yet society builds a way of life around the family that doesn't welcome traditional values. So which is it? Are we going to be out here at the club acting like fools, dating this one and that one, bobbing our head to some music that is sung by people half our age while dressing half our age? Or wait a minute, that's right, we're supposed to be raising our children. Oh no, but that's right, somebody else comes along and says, but you're supposed to be working outside the home. And you're supposed to, put your child in this program and that program. Well, who's going to pay for it? Oh, that's right, you get another job. And then you take your child and you put your child off on this one and that one. And then, of course, those people, they're going to have an attitude because you showed up late to pick up your child. Or you're dropping your child off with them too much and they don't have time. Oh, it goes on and on. Or they start raising up the prices on the child care. So now you've got to work longer to meet the child care costs. Oh, I'm a witness. I've been on all sides. Then what? They're going to judge you because, you didn't get married. You had babies out of wedlock. You didn't rush down the aisle. You're taking your time. Ooh, you're not a good witness. Wow. Jesus. That's all I can say. Jesus. Jesus is my judge. Thank you, Lord. And that's what you need to say when some of these individuals want to tell you a thing or two and they haven't walked a mile in your shoes. And I'm talking about those that cannot bless you with wisdom. Because today, it's all about what? Showing you some places and some things and some people that can be able to help you become better. Not worse off, better. Do check YouTube. Check out my channel, NM Enterprise 7. I've got a whole lot of videos that talk about all sorts of things that I'm sure you can identify with if you are just one of those moms that is just frustrated with the acts, with the fake friendships, with the silly stuff out here. Somebody who's interested in spirituality on a deeper level. Somebody that's tired of listening to men who have never birthed children give advice on parenting for mothers. All right. I'm going to skip down if you did get the book. I'm on page 238. The news, or 239. The news media is quick to report the story about the mother who was killed by her son, but slow to report the story about a mother who did something spectacular. I guess there aren't too many stories about mothers doing something extraordinary, huh? At least that's what the media wants us to assume, right? However, in their defense, they will give society an explanation like the following. Quote, the public isn't interested in the feel-good stories. The negative stories are what increases ratings. Close quote. Every now and then we may see a feature news story on television about the mother who gave birth in a place other than a hospital. Wow. How about a news feature about the mother who decided to return back to school when everyone around her told her it couldn't be done? Or the mother who started a business from home and now makes more money than her husband? I would be interested in those news stories. What about you? I do commend those mothers who get out into society and formulate groups to help people in need. But what I don't like are the groups that specifically target mothers to volunteer for certain causes so that they don't have to pay anyone. Mothers have enough responsibilities. The least these big organizations can do is provide her with a stipend. And I'm talking about a real stipend because these pennies on a dollar work-at-home jobs, that's all I'm going to say about that. Everything from the single mothers groups to mothers against various crimes has long been blessings to many. I just wish we could see more billboards, posters, and other traditional forms of advertising being used to promote not just the older organizations, but the newer ones too. And I think some of you all know what I'm talking about. Some of these businesses out here, they have been around forever, but you don't know about the newer businesses because, well, there's no billboards, there's no magazine ads. They cost a lot of money. And I would love to see some people get behind some of the lesser known work at home businesses, for instance, and get them out there, you know. But that's just my wishful thinking. Okay, reading on. The internet is great, but not everyone is on it long enough to know about the latest organizations that are assisting people with enormous needs. I personally would like mothers who are owners of small businesses to be more vocal and advertise more, but what we don't need more of is home-based businesses that sell overpriced, cheap products making false claims. Quote, you too can be rich, close quote. If the price is right and the product is something I need, I don't mind supporting a business run by mothers. I notice when society is attempting to get mothers to buy more, they either try to entice you to belong to something, use your love of family to motivate you to spend more, or use your children to harass you into buying some so-called popular must-have item. Mothers who are determined to look good in the eyes of their family will fall for these sorts of tactics every time. Some companies will go so far as to promise you incentives if you do this or that, such as more money, an all-expense-paid vacation, coupons, and discounts. If a mother isn't careful, she will find that trying to keep up with the pressure to buy from advertisers and the demands from her family will affect her health, which will put some mothers on the fast track toward healing by attending a church service or two, only to feel pressured by the minister and his staff to give their time and money. Okay, now let me skip down. I'm on page 241. As for the way we look and how we are talked about on television and radio, I've seen far too many times jokes made about marriage. As I write, I think of the television show Married with Children, which made a mockery of Al and Peg's marriage and their foolish children, Kelly and Bud. Peg longed for intimacy from her husband, and Al usually found a way to get out of it. Meanwhile, the women outside of his marriage, he was all too willing to get to know, flirt, and fantasize about having sex with them. As for Kelly and Bud, well, they were just as sex-crazed and did peculiar things, quote, to get some, close quote, too. I guess like mother, like children. Reading on, the insults made about mother-in-laws and the insensitive comments given by men regarding motherhood issues is everywhere on television too. Remember Mama's Family? Thelma Harper was responsible for keeping her son, daughter-in-law, and anyone else who came for a visit to her home in line. Yet she was portrayed as grumpy and downright mean, and she was always finding faults with her daughter-in-law. A similar concept with the mother-in-law on Everybody Loves Raymond, and with Raymond's wife, Deborah Barone, was also displayed in their relationship with one another, insulting, belittling, and downright mean too. These, open quote, mama boy, close quote, men in both shows had no real understanding of their wives' plights with the in-laws and other stresses of daily living. They went to their mothers like dogs with their tails between their legs, looking for relationship advice. It was clear the writers were sending the public to undisputable messages. Men don't understand women, and in-laws don't get along with one another. I remember watching many other shows that also made fun of marriage and family, such as Roseanne, The Simpsons, The Jeffersons, and All in the Family. What I can't seem to get out of my head while writing this chapter is Edith running around the home trying to appease a grumpy racist for her husband, then Wheezy having to tell racist George, quote, to calm down, close quote, because once again he's angry about something. Although at times we saw the mothers in these shows as the ones that kept the family together, they also were portrayed as passive and unintelligent. Father knows best, if you will. And so I'm going to leave it at that because, of course, we can go on and on about societal ills as it relates to motherhood. But I want you to get the book, of course, because, well, there are some things in there that I discuss that don't get into societal ills. Please do tune into the next audio where I read another chapter out of When Mothers Cry. That was just an excerpt. So thank you so much for listening. And as always, to God be the glory.